When I first decided to eat nothing but meat for 30 days, I thought I knew what I was getting into. High protein, simple meals, and probably zero cravings for sweets or carbs. It sounded straightforward. But reality hit the moment I cleared my kitchen of every single plant-based food. No vegetables, no fruit, no rice, no bread, not even a spoonful of sugar in my coffee. My only fuel would be animal products. My goal was simple: document everything, the physical, mental, and metabolic changes, as honestly as possible, without pushing any agenda. Whether the carnivore diet turned out to be a breakthrough or a bad idea, I wanted the results to speak for themselves. The first few days were more of a psychological battle than a physical one. Staring at the empty shelves in my kitchen was a stark reminder of just how much variety I was used to. So, I stocked up on steak, ground beef, chicken thighs, eggs, salmon, and a little butter and cheese. I made a point to avoid processed meats like bacon or sausages, since most nutrition research draws a clear line between them and unprocessed animal foods. Almost immediately, I noticed something striking. My appetite just vanished. The high-protein, high-fat meals kept me full for hours, completely wiping out the urge to snack. At this stage, the diet felt almost too simple. Eat meat until you're satisfied, drink water, and get on with your day. By the end of the first week, the scale was already moving down. When you cut carbs this dramatically, your body sheds a lot of stored glycogen and water, so that initial rapid weight loss wasn't a huge shock. But beyond just water weight, my body was clearly starting to shift into fat-burning mode. I had these moments of incredibly strong, steady energy, but they were often followed by waves of tiredness that would hit me without any warning. Every morning, I kept a journal, writing down my energy levels, mood, digestion, and sleep quality. I wanted to rely on cold, hard data, not just memory or online hype. What surprised me most during this initial phase wasn't the weight change, but the mental clarity I sometimes felt after a meal. There's a reason so many people online talk about sharper focus on low-carb diets, and in the short term, I could definitely see why. But then there was digestion. At first, I felt lighter. Less bloating, less gas, and none of the usual stomach discomfort. But as the days went on, the complete lack of dietary fiber started to show. My digestion slowed way down, and let's just say the consistency of things changed noticeably. A lot of supporters of this diet claim that humans don't actually need fiber. But the scientific consensus isn't quite that simple. Fiber is what feeds your gut microbiome, supports colon health, and for most people, it prevents constipation. I wasn't in any pain, but the difference was undeniable. And I made sure to document it every day because long-term consequences are what really matter here. Around the halfway point, the experiment shifted from just how I felt to what was happening inside my body. I had taken baseline blood tests before I started, and at day 15, I went back for another round. Just as you'd expect with carb restriction, my triglycerides dropped, and my HDL, the good cholesterol, ticked up a bit. But there was a red flag. My LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, had climbed much more than I expected. Now, this didn't mean something catastrophic was happening overnight, but it highlighted exactly why so many doctors are hesitant to endorse long-term meat-only diets. A high saturated fat intake combined with the complete absence of plant foods can push LDL levels up in some people, and that's something you can't feel day to day. It only shows up when you test. Nutrient concerns also started coming into focus. Meat is incredibly rich in key nutrients like iron, B12, zinc, and high-quality protein. But it's lacking in others, especially vitamin C and various antioxidants that are primarily found in plants, while fresh meat does contain tiny amounts of vitamin C. It's generally not enough to meet the daily needs of most adults over a long period. I didn't develop any full-blown deficiency symptoms in just 30 days, but my blood markers for certain micronutrients did drop slightly. This really reinforced an important point. You can probably get away with a short-term carnivore experiment without major issues. But long-term adherence without careful supplementation is a whole different ballgame. By week 3, the changes in my physical performance became really obvious. My strength workouts felt solid, sometimes even stronger, probably because all that protein was helping with muscle recovery. But my high-intensity endurance took a nosedive. Without carbs for fuel, my muscles just struggled to maintain that explosive energy for any extended period. This is exactly what a lot of athletes report. Low-carb or carnivore diets can be great for maintaining strength, but they often compromise endurance unless you follow them for months to become fully adapted. I wasn't training for a competition, but I wanted to see how my body would respond. And the response was clear. It was capable, but it definitely wasn't optimized. Socially and financially, the diet was way more demanding than I ever anticipated. Eating out became a minefield. Most restaurants marinate their meats, cook them in seed oils, or pair them with sides that were off limits. I found myself having to explain this extreme experiment at almost every social gathering, and not everyone really got it. The cost also shot up fast. High-quality cuts of meat aren't cheap, and when that's all you're eating for 3 meals a day, it completely reshapes your grocery budget. It made me really think about how practical or impractical this diet is for the average person living a normal life outside of a controlled 30-day challenge. Finally, day 30 arrived. I went back for my final round of tests and sat down to compare every single note from the entire month. The final verdict: I had lost weight. My appetite was more controlled than ever. My digestion had changed significantly. My LDL had risen. My triglycerides had fallen, and my energy had been a roller coaster throughout. Some of the benefits were very real, but some of the concerns were equally real. When I reviewed all the numbers with my doctor and a dietitian, their conclusion was measured and reasonable. A very short, monitored experiment like this is fine. But they'd approach long-term use with a lot of caution, especially for anyone with a history of heart, kidney, or metabolic issues. Reintroducing vegetables and some carbohydrates after the experiment was over was an eye-opening experience. My digestion improved almost immediately. My energy stabilized. And over the following weeks, my LDL started to trend back down toward its baseline. I didn't just forget everything I learned, though. My snacking habits have changed for good, and I have a brand new appreciation for how my body responds to carbs. But I also confirmed something essential. Balance really matters. Pushing yourself to an extreme can teach you a lot, but it's rarely a sustainable way to live. So after 30 days of eating nothing but meat, my biggest takeaway isn't that the carnivore diet is amazing or that it's dangerous. It's that our individual responses to food vary way more than most people realize. Some people might feel fantastic on a diet like this for a short time. Others won't. But the only honest way to judge it is through real data, real symptoms, real blood work, and real self-reflection. And that's what this experiment gave me: not a miracle cure, not a disaster, but a much deeper understanding of how my own body works. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into health and nutrition.